I turned down my dream job to stay close to my partner and family. They were all lying to me the entire time. Hey, before we move on to the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. About a year ago, I was offered the kind of job that people in my industry fantasize about. I work in a very competitive creative field, think media, tech, or design. I won't say which exactly because I don't want this trace back, and after years of internships, freelance work, and unstable contracts, I finally got the call. It was a full-time position with a world-renowned company in a major city. Amazing pay, benefits, long-term growth, relocation included. I had made it through 5 rounds of interviews and beat out over 500 other applicants. When the offer letter came, I cried. I remember calling my boyfriend at the time. We'd been together for almost 6 years, and he sounded happy, or at least he acted happy. We lived together in a medium-sized town not far from my hometown, where both of our families still lived. I had been hesitant to apply for out-of-state jobs because I didn't want to strain our relationship. He was a local guy, had a steady job in the area, and made it pretty clear over the years that he didn't want to leave. But when I told him about the job opportunity early in the process, he said he'd support me. He even said things like, "If anyone deserves this, it's you." At first, everything felt like a fairy tale. My mom was excited for me. My younger sister made jokes about visiting me in the big city. My boyfriend said he'd start looking into remote work options. It felt like everyone was genuinely happy for me. But slowly, so slowly I didn't even notice at first, things started to shift. My boyfriend started making small comments, never overtly cruel, but weirdly cutting. "You'll be working all the time out there. Will you even have time for us?" Or, "Are you sure you're not being a little selfish right now?" Then there were the jokes about me finding some big city guy and forgetting about him. I laughed them off. We'd been together too long, right? He was just scared. I was too, honestly. This would be the biggest change in my life. Then my mom had a bit of meltdown one night. She called me crying, saying she was terrified of being alone as she got older. "First your brother moved away. Now you. I'm not asking you to give up your dreams, but why do they all have to take you so far away?" I sat on the floor with the phone against my ear for over an hour, my stomach turning into knots. She wasn't yelling. That made it worse. She was just sad. My boyfriend got colder, distant. Sex stopped, but he blamed work stress. Conversations got short. My friend started asking if we were okay. I started defending him more than I actually talked about my job. The real kicker came 2 weeks before I had to make my final decision. My boyfriend sat me down and said he'd thought about it a lot, and while he still supported me, in theory, he didn't think he could move. He said, "This is your dream, not mine," and that maybe I was outgrowing him. He didn't say we'd break up if I left, but he didn't have to. The message was clear. I spent the next week in a fog. The job was everything I wanted, but I loved this man. I had built my life around our relationship, and my family was right here. I'd miss birthdays, Sunday dinners, spontaneous coffee runs with my sister. Was I really ready to throw that away? Everyone seemed to think the answer was no, so I turned it down. I emailed the recruiter with shaking hands and told them I'd be declining. That night, I cried myself to sleep next to the man I'd sacrificed everything for. At the time, I thought I was making a mature decision. I told myself love and family mattered more than ambition, that another opportunity would come. I didn't know then that I was being played by the people closest to me. The first few weeks after I turned down the job were a blur of pretending I didn't regret it. My boyfriend acted like he had dodged a bullet. He was more affectionate again, more upbeat. He even told me, "I'm glad we're building something real here, not just chasing shiny things." I smiled and nodded, trying to believe I had done the right thing. My mom seemed relieved too. She called to say she was proud of me for choosing what really matters. My sister, who I later realized had been a little too quiet during the whole thing, didn't say much. I brushed it off. I didn't want to confront the gnawing feeling in my gut that something wasn't sitting right. I tried to fill the void by overworking. I threw myself into local projects, freelance gigs, even started helping my boyfriend's sister with her startup branding. I told myself I was still moving forward, just differently. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the air had gone out of my life. It wasn't just about the job. It was about how quickly everyone around me had pivoted from celebrating my success to undermining it. Then little things started surfacing. One night, I noticed my boyfriend being unusually protective over his phone. We'd never been the share all passwords couple, but there had never been secrets either. I chalked it up to paranoia until I saw him texting someone named L at midnight. When I asked who she was, he said it was a coworker and got defensive. Why are you suddenly so insecure? That was rich, considering the months of guilt-tripping I'd just endured. The next day, I looked her up. She wasn't just a coworker. She was his project partner from work, and judging by her Instagram, they were very cozy. One photo in particular made my stomach turn. It was the two of them at a bar from 2 months ago, arms around each other, with a caption that said, "This one keeps me sane." I felt sick. That was during the time he was telling me he didn't want to move, when he was pulling away, and I was blaming myself for being too ambitious. I confronted him. He denied everything, said I was reading into it, said they were just friends, and that the hug was platonic. But his eyes, he couldn't even look at me straight. And when I asked why he hadn't told me about her sooner, he said, "Because I knew you'd react like this." A week later, I did something I've never done before. I went through his phone while he was in the shower. I know, I'm not proud of it, but I needed to know if I was crazy or if my instincts were screaming for a reason. They were. There were dozens of messages between him and L, some flirty, others blatantly romantic. A few talked about me, jokes about how I thought she was just a friend. A message where he told her, "She's obsessed with this NYC job. Honestly, I hope she doesn't take it. She'll forget about everyone here, including me." That one broke me. Even worse, there were messages with my mom. He had been talking to my mother behind my back. Texts where they discussed how ambition changes people, and how we need to remind her what she'd be leaving behind. My mother had said, and I quote, "I don't think she sees how much she's hurting you. Maybe if she knew how lonely you'd be, she'd think twice." They didn't just let me give up my dream. They manipulated me into it. My mother, the man I thought I was going to marry. They had collaborated to keep me tethered to a version of life that served them more than me. I sat on the couch with his phone in my hands and felt something crack deep inside me. I confronted him that night. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just asked, "How long have you been lying to me?" He stared at me, blank-faced. He knew the game was over. There was no denial left. He finally admitted that things between him and Elle had blurred the lines. That he didn't want me to leave because he was afraid I'd realize I could do better. That he had told my mom about it because she was worried about you too. He tried to spin it as love. I packed my things and left that night. I didn't go to my mom's. I booked a cheap motel and stayed there for 3 days. My sister was the only one who reached out, and when I told her what I'd found, she wasn't surprised. She said, "I tried to warn you, but you didn't want to see it." She was right. My mother called me nonstop, trying to explain herself. She said she was just scared, that she didn't want to lose me to some big city. She said I could find other jobs closer to home, that maybe this was a sign. I blocked her. I blocked my ex. I blocked everyone except my sister and a few close friends. And then I broke. The job was gone. The recruiter had already moved on and filled the position. My future, the one I had sacrificed everything for, had evaporated. All because I trusted people who claimed to love me. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have savings beyond a few months of rent. But I had one thing I hadn't had in a long time: clarity. I moved into a small studio apartment on the edge of town. It was barely furnished, barely affordable, and the walls were thin enough that I could hear my neighbor's TV through them at night. But for the first time in years, I didn't have to tiptoe around anyone's feelings. No emotional landmines, no passive-aggressive comments, no guilt disguised as concern. Just quiet and space. The first few weeks were rough. I went through waves of depression and fury. I kept replaying it all: the job offer, the emotional manipulation, the lies. I couldn't believe I had fallen for it. I had wanted to believe them. That's the part that hurt the most. That deep down, I had known something was wrong, and I ignored it because I didn't want to lose the people I loved. I spent most of my time on the couch, binge-watching garbage TV and ignoring texts. My sister came by once or twice a week with groceries and takeout. She didn't say much. Just sat next to me, let me be. Honestly, she saved me. I don't think I told her that enough. One day, after about a month of emotional hibernation, I opened my laptop and looked at the old job posting. It had been filled, obviously, but I clicked around the company's site anyway. I read through their projects, their blog, their team bios. I cried, again, not because I missed the opportunity, but because I realized I had been right to want more. That same night, I updated my resume. I started small, freelance projects, contract gigs, stuff I could do remotely. I reached out to old contacts, people I'd worked with years ago. A few replied. One passed my name along to someone looking for help with a branding overhaul for a mid-sized company. It paid well. They loved my work. That led to another gig. Then another. I built a website. I posted my portfolio. I took online classes to level up my skills. Slowly, my inbox filled up with opportunities. I didn't even realize how much time had passed until one of my clients asked if I'd consider coming on full-time, working remotely, with relocation available if I wanted it. It wasn't the same company as before. It was better, smaller, more flexible, with a leadership team that valued my voice. When they offered me the position, I didn't cry this time. I smiled, and I said yes. I moved across the country 3 months later. Different city, different coast, different life. I got a quiet apartment downtown. It has floor-to-ceiling windows, and every morning I wake up to light pouring in through sheer curtains I picked out myself. I walked to work. I joined a gym. I made friends, real ones, not people who hovered in my life out of convenience or guilt. And then, right on cue, they all came crawling back. It started with my ex. He emailed me out of nowhere. The subject line was, "I owe you an apology." I almost deleted it, but I was curious. The message was long and rambling. He said he'd messed up, that Elle had moved on, and wasn't who he thought she was. He said he missed me, that he'd been following my new job on LinkedIn, saw the city I was in, and thought maybe if you ever want to catch up. I didn't reply. 2 days later, he messaged me on Instagram. New account. Said he hoped I was okay, that he still had stuff of mine if I ever wanted it. I left him on read. Then my mom called. Not texted. Called. From a new number. I stared at my phone for almost a minute before I answered. I don't even know why I did. Maybe I wanted to hear her voice, to see if she'd finally admit what she did. She acted like nothing had happened. "Sweetheart, how are you? Your aunt said she saw a post about your new job. I'm so proud of you." Proud of me. The same woman who conspired with my boyfriend to keep me from leaving. The same woman who sobbed about how I was abandoning the family when I tried to chase my dream. I stayed quiet. After a few seconds, she added, "Your cousin is getting married this fall. Everyone would love to see you. You could come stay with me." I said no. Calmly. Clearly. She hesitated. "Well, maybe we can talk more soon. I know things got complicated, but we're still family." I told her I didn't think of her that way anymore. And I hung up. She hasn't called since. I used to fantasize about revenge. About posting the screenshots. About sending those messages to mutual friends, showing everyone who they really were. I don't need that anymore. My life is my revenge. I have a career I'm proud of. I wake up every day grateful, not guilty. I live in a place I chose, doing work I love, surrounded by people who support me without strings attached. And the people who try to keep me small, they're exactly where I left them, still spinning their webs, still looking for someone to keep them company in their stagnant little world. I don't hate them anymore, but I'll never forget what they did, and I'll never give them another piece of me. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button.